Welcome back. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Can-Am, about the future of us racing, and about overall my experience and how I think everything went. So right off the bat, when I was strapping this car down, I knew I had to have hurt something when I nosed it into that dune. Getting right into the Can-Am, I knew I hurt something when I landed in that, I wouldn't call it a witch's eye, but that drop off. I stuffed it pretty good. And at first I didn't realize what I did, but when I was strapping it down, I noticed that there was some different alignment on certain elements of the front of the car. Nothing major, but so right off the bat, I got to looking and, well, you can already see, here's my CV, and well, that piece of metal is supposed to be connected there. But that didn't happen from stuffing it. I'm pretty sure I overheated the CV. The boot expanded, inflated like a balloon, and popped. It's been a known issue with these front CVs because they're actually undersized for, you know, racing and that sort of stuff. And then I ran it for about a lap with no grease, and it got really hot and tried to stick and weld itself and catch fire and all that fun stuff. I had to spray it. You can see some of the residue from the fire extinguisher because the boot literally melted and caught fire. It was pretty cool. Smelled terrible. So I got to looking and I noticed immediately right here, this plate, you probably won't see it on camera, but it has a little bit of a new bend on it. Notice a little bit of a gap in my front A-arms. They're a little loose right there, and I don't know exactly why that is. It looks like it's pushed in. I definitely need to reinforce and figure out why those aren't as tight as they were. But got to looking at the front of this, and I noticed also my winch was at a different angle. And right up in here, there is a crack on my winch from it being shoved back so hard. And that caused me to look around, and I noticed that there's no gap between the bumper and the plastic. There's no gap between the bumper and the plastic. There used to be a good amount of gap, and that this is being pushed on pretty hard. And so I looked at the other side and I saw the same thing, and I saw that, and that's just a broken mount right there. You can see how far off the plastic is because of the brake. Well, more than likely just zip tying it. I don't really care for replacing the whole headlight assembly just for that little brake. I don't really care about that. The rest of this, I'll probably hook it up to my shop and I'll gently back up and pop it out. I've bent this before one other time when I got attacked by a robotic bear. As you can see, it took a swipe right here with its claws right across the front of the skid plate and bent this a little bit, and I popped it right on out. This is a bent a little bit more, but same concept. Strap right here to something that doesn't move, back up at about 5 miles an hour and slowly bump it out. Aside from that, that's all good. You might see this damage was done a long time ago, and anytime I jump or land hard, it shoves it all back and I can just pop it back out. But they say that on the DS models that you could run 32s or 31 inch, I believe, tires. Unfortunately, you can't. They do rub, and they rub pretty substantially, as you could tell by those marks, and that leads to that problem right there. So when this got folded back from the first time of running my sand tires, this catches sand and just peels it back. I got new skid plates for this car, so probably be a good time to put them in. This, I'm just gonna pop it back down and around and probably throw some zip ties on it. Once I have the new skid plates on, they have a little lip that comes up that will protect this from happening. If you heat this up, you can get it to lose its memory. So I usually try to get it out. I'll heat it all up with the torch and I'll pop it over, and then I push it back, and it will stay like that for an entire desert season unless I stuff it. And that's pre-existing damage. It's gotten a little worse from the racing, but that's pre-existing. I don't really care about any of that. Now, this leads me kind of into future race. This is a DS. What does DS mean? It's a 64-inch wheelbase. That means I'm damn near a foot less than the competition in width, and that makes a huge difference. One of the things I noticed is I don't fit well into the ruts that everyone's leaving. That's one of the problems I was having. Another problem is I lose about 2 inches of suspension because of the way that the arms are wider out at an angle. You gain a little bit more. The other issue is because it's hard to tell on this, but when you see this thing with the suspension all the way down, I lose about 6 inches more of width, and all of that loss means that I have to be a lot more careful around the corners. And the loss of suspension, I think these have 2.5 Fox shocks or 2.0s, and the 72-inch models have 0.5 more. So they're either 3.0s or 2.5s, I forget. But this is the actual shocks themselves are better on the 72-inch model, and they have more bottom out resist. This bottoms out with the body really well. I do have shock therapy springs on it, and they are tuned very well. But at the end of the day, it is still just a DS. And I'm doing this with stock radius arms and trailing arms, stock A arms. There is nothing done to this car mechanically. I got these little rock sliders that are shitty, wouldn't buy them again, but they do keep the rocks off the body. We take this a lot of different places. I don't want to convert this to a 72-inch model. I don't want to do anything like that. I want it to stay like this. Realistically, I have to push this car a lot harder than somebody who's driving a 72-inch model. I would have to put 5 to 10 grand into this car to be able to even compete car to car wise with other drivers. And I don't know if I really want to make this a real thing. I don't have a lot of time. I run a lot of different businesses. We're working on houses, my normal business, and we're doing a lot of traveling. I don't know if I want to add doing these races all winter long. Don't think I have the time for it, at least not now. And I definitely don't have the time to work on this thing, and you know, if I roll it, I need to put a cage in it if I want to go anywhere else besides the sand scramble. There's a stock cage, and that's terrifying when you see when you see Mac Jordan rolling down the dune. You know, would this cage handle that? Probably, maybe. Those are not words to live by though. So I don't see this Can-Am being the car that I'm going to be racing. Now, that doesn't mean if I come across a good 72-inch Can-Am at a good price, you know, that I'd jump on it. Maybe I would consider it. Maybe I'd want that. I don't, I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying I'm going to be building my Can-Am for next year. This Can-Am is great. I can put my wife in it and the baby in it, and you see some of the videos. I'm out there running with the little middle seat and everything. And a lot of the guys that were in the top 10, I saw that they didn't even have a passenger seat. They removed a lot of the plastics back here for weight reduction. I'm running, this is how I ran. I got all my straps in there. I got all this, I got ratchet straps in there as well. I have a toolbox underneath the passenger seat that was in the car. The car is like it is now, how I ran it. The shitty plastic windshield. Almost nobody had windshields. And I have it just so we deal with a lot of weather when we're out there in other areas. Like when we go to the Sierra Nevadas, there's thunderstorms all the time when we go out there. Having a windshield is great when you're dealing with rain. That's where I sit with this car. I don't want to destroy it doing that race, and I don't want to put the money into it because it works great the way it is. And I'm not going to crazy places, and I'm not needing any more out of the car than the car has right now. And I also got to think about my baby. You know, she needs a daddy, so can't go hurt myself. I am the money maker of the family, so if I go down, the money goes down and everything goes down. Nobody's gonna jump in this Can-Am and go win races to keep my mortgage paid. As for me, I did take that one good stuffing. That was great. You'll see the in-car of my neck of me getting whiplash essentially. I feel really good. Yesterday I was a little bit sore in the neck, specifically in the back, to be expected. Pretty much sprained my neck. Aside from that, little stiffness in the shoulders, but I did great. I feel great. I'm fine. How did I think I did in the race? I think I did really well. If you consider my terrible start on heat 2, the Can-Am went into limp mode because I got a little bit overzealous, and I think I crept on the throttle a little bit, and I spun the belt on the start, and it put it into limp mode. I had to shut the Can-Am off, restart, and then by the time I was going, everyone was already at the top of comp. So I sent it from there on, and on lap 2 I was battling for 3rd place, and I grabbed 3rd place, and I was coming up for 3rd place right up until my belt blew up. And that was a stock belt, you know, that was a new stock belt, but never really tried anything else. I never had any issues with the stock belt. And now I'm running a G-Force belt, which seems to be doing excellent. It looks great, even though I ran a race with it. It seems to bite better. There was times I could smell my belt with the stock Can-Am belt. I never smelt this belt. This belt seems to be doing really well. So We'll probably start running these G-force belts. By comparison to the Can-Am belts, they seem better. Just my 2 cents. So that made me qualify into 30th position, which I qualified, but I was in 30th for the finals. On lap 1 of the finals, I got up to, I think, 15th or 13th. Lap 2, I was up to 9th. In lap 2, I had some my belt shimmied or shook. It felt really bad. I thought I actually blew my transfer case because I went off a jump and I got back on the throttle and the belt groaned and made a terrible noise and shook the car. And I think it was so hot it wasn't sliding on the clutches correctly. And so I lifted for a second, I lost a couple positions, got back on it, car was fine. Lap 3, started to smell something kind of funny, and I thought it was another car. So I kept sending it, and I'm pretty sure that was that CV popping the boot and starting to overheat. And right after I stuffed it, I went over, well, right before I stuffed it, I heard some noises, and I stuffed it. I went over a couple more jumps. The noises got really loud. It went from every time I went off a jump and the suspension went full down, which would put the most angle on that CV, it started making a kind of noise, and that turned into a clack, clack, clack. And I had to pull off from the race at that point in time. And when I pulled off, it was up in smoke and later caught fire. So I think I did really well, considering I got into 9th. Bone stock DS modeled Can-Am. Not only did I get into 9th, I came from 30th to 9th. If I would have finished the Heat 2 in 3rd place, I would have been in the top 10 for the qualifiers. And being in the top 10, I would have been on the front line. I wouldn't have had to battle my way all the way through all those individuals to get all the way up into the top. Due to 2 mechanical failures, I couldn't get up there and do any better. Mechanical failures, you could argue, were my fault. Yeah, 100%. The only way I could take a trophy home was to send it, and that's exactly what I did. The competition was great. The competition was strong, so I jumped further. I entered corners hotter. There's like 26 jumps in every single lap, and I probably bottomed out on 22 of them. It was rough on the inside of the car, but I wanted to win, and I knew that I was going to have to push the car to its limits to get there, and I found those limits. One was a belt, one was a CV. It was a great experience. Would love to do it again. Anybody who wants to do the sportsman race, I would tell you, have fun. Don't think it's slow. Don't think that you're just gonna walk in there and destroy. Those guys are drivers. Those guys come there, they follow the rules, but they reduce all the weight down, and they are there to win. Enjoy yourselves, but I know there's gonna be some people who are like, oh, you were just in the sportsman class and anyone can do that. Then do it. That's all I'm gonna say. Just go do it. If you think it's that easy, you think that you could just take a trophy home, I'll bow down to you. Go knock it out. You'll have a good experience. You'll have fun, assuming you don't wreck. And considering I placed 23rd and I only completed 3.5 laps, and I placed 23rd. That means out of my class of about 40 cars on the finals, at least 17 of them did not make it past their 3rd lap. I don't know how many more wrecks there were. I know that there was a couple more after me, and I'm willing to bet about half the field crashed. And it is very challenging, and you are going very fast. When I was watching those heats, it doesn't feel that fast. You don't realize how fast you're going, but down through the straightaways, you're doing 70, 75. There's 2 straights that I hit 80 down the straights. The jumps, you're jumping everything. It's the only way to be up in the top 10. I'd say anybody that was up in the top 10 really knew what they were doing. I mean, top 12 or so. There was a significant gap between the top 12 and the rest of the group. Those guys were professional. They gave you plenty of room. They kept their lines. If you did, and I had it happen where I hooked and it went onto 2 wheels, they knew how to get out of the way. I had to get out of the way of a couple of people who were on 2 wheels as well. They're watching out for others. It was great. I really enjoyed myself. I would happily do it again if I had the right Can-Am to do it. I'm probably not going to do it again because I don't think I'm going to get the right Can-Am, but I would happily do it again. Thanks for everyone who supported the event. It's all those people watching why we do stupid things like this, because the money wasn't there. 30-40 people will crash their or break their Can-Ams racing for a $1,500 BFG voucher for tires. I hope Red Bull does a little bit more for the sportsman class next year, because I think that is kind of a joke. That amount is kind of a joke, especially since all of us had to pay $150 to even register to race. I think there should have been some cash incentive. Vouchers and all those things, they're great, but they definitely needs to be some cash incentive to get more people to actually want to take it a little bit more serious. If there was more cash involved, I'd probably do the upgrades to my Can-Am. If it was $2,500 worth of cash, I probably would do it. $1,500 voucher, I'm not too worried about that. Not to push into that. But on that note, I'm going to end this video off. This concludes our Sand Scramble for 2024. One hell of an event. Family did great. The event was fun. We'll see what's going to happen next. And I got all kinds of projects lined up. We're working on the Nova right now, so I got some videos coming up of that. But on that note, we'll end it here, and we'll catch you on the next one.